History whispers. Ever wondered what it's saying? It roars, it screams, like your neighbor's dog at 3 a.m., but sometimes it falls silent. These silences hide stories. Stories of the forgotten, stories of the overlooked, like that one sock you can never find. These are the tales of underdogs and unexpected heroes. Ready for a plot twist? Today, we journey back in time. No time machine required. We will unearth two such stories. Grab your shovels. First, the Germanic tribes who defied an empire. Talk about guts. Second, the Knights of St. Lazarus who faced a plague head-on. Spoiler, they didn't have hand sanitizer. The year is 9 AD. The Roman Empire at the height of its power stretches across vast territories from the deserts of Africa to the forests of Germania. The empire's legions are feared and respected, their discipline and military prowess unmatched. But what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable forest? The place is the Teutoburg Forest, a vast sprawling expanse of dense woodland filled with towering trees and thick underbrush. It is a place of mystery and danger, a natural fortress for those who know its secrets. And let's be honest, who doesn't love a good forest ambush? A dense, dark, and unforgiving wilderness. The forest is a labyrinth of shadows and hidden paths, where the unwary can easily become lost. It is a place where the light of the sun barely penetrates, casting an eerie gloom over the landscape. Sounds like the perfect vacation spot, right? Here, Germanic tribes united under Arminius. He was a warrior born and raised in these lands. Arminius, a chieftain of the Kurushi tribe, had once served Rome as an auxiliary officer. He had learned their ways, their strategies, and their weaknesses. Talk about insider knowledge. A strategist, he knew Rome. He had fought alongside their legions, studied their tactics, and understood their strengths. But more importantly, he knew their vulnerabilities. He knew how to turn the might of Rome against itself. Ever heard of the phrase, know your enemy? Arminius took it to a whole new level. He'd served in their legions. He understood their tactics, their strengths, their weaknesses. He knew the Roman legions were formidable in open battle, but in the dense, tangled forest, their formations would be disrupted, their discipline tested. Who knew trees could be such great allies? And he would exploit them all. Arminius devised a plan to lure the Roman legions into the heart of the forest, where their numbers and discipline would count for little. He knew that in the chaos of the forest, his warriors could strike with deadly effect. Ever tried playing hide-and-seek in a forest? Now imagine it with swords. The Roman legions marched into the forest, led by Publius Quinctilius Varus, a Roman general tasked with pacifying the region. Varus was confident in the might of his legions, believing that no force could stand against Rome. Spoiler alert, he was wrong. They were led by Varus. He was confident, arrogant. He underestimated his enemy. A fatal mistake. The Germanic tribes attacked. It was a massacre. 3 Roman legions annihilated. The ambush was swift and brutal. The Roman soldiers caught off guard and unable to form their defensive lines. Oops, looks like someone didn't read the forest survival guide. The might of Rome, broken in the forest. The aftermath was devastating. The forest floor was littered with the broken shields and weapons of the fallen legions. The Roman standard, a symbol of their power, lay discarded on the ground. The defeat at Teutoburg Forest was a turning point, a moment when the invincible image of Rome was shattered. So next time you think you're invincible, remember, even Rome had its bad days. News of the defeat reached Rome. The city, usually bustling with the energy of its citizens, fell into a somber silence. The message carried by the messenger was not just any news, it was a harbinger of despair. Ever wondered how one message could change the mood of an entire city? Augustus, the emperor, was devastated. The weight of the loss bore heavily on his shoulders. He had always been a symbol of strength and resilience, but this news shook him to his core. Imagine being the guy who had to deliver that message. Talk about a tough day at work. He was said to have cried out, "Quintilius Varus, give me back my legions." His voice echoed through the halls of his palace, a cry of anguish that resonated with the entire empire. This was not just a personal loss, it was a national tragedy. Can you picture Augustus shouting that in today's world? Maybe he'd tweet it instead. The defeat at Teutoburg Forest was more than a military loss. It was a catastrophic event that changed the course of Roman history. The ambush in the dense, dark forest left thousands of Roman soldiers dead, their bodies strewn across the battlefield. Ever had a bad day? Well, this was Rome's worst. It was a psychological blow. The invincible Roman legions, who had conquered vast territories and subdued countless enemies, were now seen as vulnerable. The shockwaves of this defeat rippled through the empire, affecting everyone from the highest-ranking generals to the common citizens. How do you think the water cooler conversations went the next day? It shattered the aura of Roman invincibility. The once unbreakable spirit of the Roman army was now fractured. The sight of broken shields and fallen standards was a stark reminder of their mortality. Even the best have their off days, right? Rome would never be the same. Expansion into Germania halted. The ambitious plans to conquer and integrate Germania into the empire were abandoned. The dream of a Roman Germania was lost forever. Ever had to abandon a dream? Rome sure did. The northern border of the empire solidified. Fortifications were strengthened and watchtowers were erected to guard against future threats. The focus shifted from expansion to defense, marking a significant change in Roman military strategy. When life gives you lemons, build a fort, right? The defeat served as a stark reminder. It was a lesson in humility for the mighty Roman Empire. The soldiers who survived carried the weight of this loss with them, a constant reminder of their vulnerability. Ever had a lesson in humility? Rome just got schooled. Even the mightiest can fall. The ruins of the battlefield and the toppled symbols of Roman power stood as silent witnesses to this truth. The empire, though still powerful, was forever changed by this devastating defeat. So what do you think? Can even the strongest bounce back from such a fall? Centuries later, a new threat emerged: the Black Death. It swept across Europe with an unforgiving hand, leaving devastation in its wake. It killed millions, indiscriminately claiming lives from all walks of life. Fear gripped the land, and the once bustling towns and villages fell silent, shrouded in an eerie stillness. The streets, once filled with the laughter of children and the chatter of merchants, now echoed with the cries of the afflicted and the mournful wails of those who had lost loved ones. Ever wondered what it would be like to live in a ghost town? Well, this was it, but with a lot more drama and a lot less Wi-Fi. But amidst the darkness, heroes emerged. These were not just any heroes, they were men of valor and compassion, who chose to stand against the tide of despair. They donned their armor not for battle, but for a greater cause. They were the unsung saviors, the silent guardians who risked their lives to bring solace to the suffering. Their acts of bravery were not driven by the desire for glory, but by an unwavering commitment to humanity. Imagine signing up for a job where the uniform is heavy armor, and the job description is saving the world, one sick person at a time. Talk about a tough gig, the Knights of St. Lazarus. This order was different. Unlike other knights who sought honor on the battlefield, the Knights of St. Lazarus found their calling in the service of the sick and the downtrodden. They wore the green cross as a symbol of their dedication to healing and compassion. Their mission was not to conquer lands, but to conquer the suffering that plagued their fellow men. Who needs a castle when you can have a hospital ward, right? Many of its knights suffered from leprosy. They were outcasts, shunned by society. In a time when leprosy was feared and misunderstood, these knights faced not only the physical torment of the disease, but also the social stigma that came with it. They were often forced to live on the fringes of society, away from their families and communities, yet they did not let their affliction define them. Instead, they found strength in their shared suffering and a sense of purpose in their collective struggle. Ever felt like an outsider? These guys took it to a whole new level and still managed to be heroes. Talk about turning lemons into lemonade. But they refused to be defined by their affliction. They embraced their duty. They became healers. They became protectors. With unwavering resolve, they tended to the sick, offering not just medical care, but also compassion and hope. They used their knowledge of herbs and remedies to alleviate pain and suffering. They provided comfort to those who had been abandoned, becoming a source of light in the darkest of times. Their actions spoke of a profound courage, one that transcended their own suffering. Can you imagine being a knight and a doctor? Talk about multitasking. They became beacons of hope in a world consumed by despair. Their legacy is a testament to the power of compassion and the enduring human spirit. In the face of overwhelming odds, they chose to fight not with swords, but with kindness and care. They showed that true heroism lies not in the battles we win, but in the lives we touch and the hope we inspire. The Knights of St. Lazarus remind us that even in the darkest times there is always a light that can guide us through. So next time you're having a bad day, just remember, If medieval knights could handle leprosy and the Black Death, you can handle that traffic jam. Section 5. Unsung Heroes of the Plague. Ever wondered who the real MVPs of the Black Death were? The Knights of St. Lazarus established hospitals. Talk about healthcare heroes before it was cool. They cared for the sick, they buried the dead. Who needs a day off, right? They did what others wouldn't. They risked their lives. Would you have done the same? They faced the plague head-on. They showed immense courage. Their actions were remarkable. Talk about bravery. They were a testament to the human spirit. Ever felt like giving up? These guys didn't. A spirit that refused to be broken, even in the face of unimaginable suffering. Now that's some serious determination. Section 6. A legacy etched in time, the Germanic tribes. Ever wondered what it was like to live back then? Spoiler, no Wi-Fi, the Knights of St. Lazarus, two different groups separated by time, connected by their courage, their defiance, and probably their dislike for Mondays, their willingness to face overwhelming odds. Would you have the guts to join them, or would you just binge-watch their battles on Netflix? These stories resonate through history, like a catchy tune you can't get out of your head. They remind us that greatness can be found in the most unexpected places, like finding a $20 bill in your old jeans, in the heart of a warrior, or in the courage to face your Monday morning meetings, in the soul of a caregiver, because even back then someone had to deal with all the paperwork. Section 7. Finding inspiration in the shadows. The stories of the Germanic tribes and the Knights of St. Lazarus are not just tales of the past. Ever wondered what it would be like to face a battle in medieval armor? They hold lessons for us today. And no, it's not just about how heavy those helmets were. They teach us about courage, about resilience, and maybe a bit about how to handle a sword without tripping over your own feet, about the power of the human spirit. Who knew history could be so uplifting? Their stories remind us that even the marginalized, the forgotten, can rise to meet extraordinary challenges. They can change the course of history. So, next time you feel down, just remember, if a medieval knight can do it, so can you. Who's ready to take on the world now? Section 8. The Unending Search. History is not a static thing. Ever wondered if historians have a secret handshake? It's a living, breathing tapestry. And like any tapestry, it has hidden threads. Who knew history could be so threadbare? Forgotten stories waiting to be discovered. Do you think they come with a treasure map? We must seek them out. It's like a historical scavenger hunt. We must listen to the echoes of the past. Can you hear them whispering secrets? We must learn from those who came before us, or at least avoid their mistakes. So are you ready to dive into the past and uncover some mysteries? Section 9. Unearthing the past. Ready to dig up some history? Let's get our hands dirty. The stories of the Germanic tribes and the Knights of St. Lazarus are just two examples of forgotten history. But wait, there's more. Ever wondered who else defied expectations back in the day? These folks fought for what they believed in. Talk about dedication. And they left their mark on the world. Literally. It's our duty to unearth these stories. Who's up for a treasure hunt? To share them with the world. Because who doesn't love a good story? To ensure that they are never forgotten. After all, history is too cool to be left in the past. Section 10. Conclusion, a call to remember. The next time you crack open a history book, ask yourself, who are the unsung heroes here? Seek out the hidden stories. Ever wondered who the real MVPs of history are? The stories of the forgotten heroes. The ones who didn't make it to the front page. For in their triumphs and struggles we might find inspiration for our own lives, and maybe a few laughs at their expense. Let us remember, let us learn, and let us never forget the echoes of the past, because history is too interesting to be boring.